Carrying the weight of the world on his shoulder, he stepped into the octagon for the very last time and showed why he is the greatest UFC fighter, as he submitted Justin Gaethji, one of the best strikers in the UFC today. People doubted him till the very last minute, but he defied the odds and retired from the sport with an impeccable record of 29-0. Today, we are going to hear from the top 5 UFC superstars as to what made Khabib better than everybody he fought. Number 5. Dustin Poirier. After choking Conor McGregor, Khabib was set to defend his title against Louisiana's own Dustin the Diamond Poirier at UFC 242. People thought that Khabib was not going to maul Poirier because he had a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Not only did he end up choking him, but he also maintained his record of not losing a single round in the match. When asked by Patrick Bet-David about the fighter who he thinks has the best ground game out of the opponents he has faced, Poirier, without hesitating, said Khabib's grappling was the best he's ever seen. I've never felt anything like it. And you know I have 46 fights. I've fought all kinds of different people. What sets him apart was his understanding of weight distribution. The best I've ever felt, the best I've ever seen. His understanding of what I needed to do and what positions I needed to be in to advance. He was steps ahead of me. There was a moment in the fight when everybody thought Khabib's undefeated streak was going to be over. Dustin had him in a very tight spot in a stronghold. But his grip did not prove to be strong enough for the Eagle. Khabib used all his power to not only get out of the position, but also reverse it, submitting Dustin in the end. What sets him apart was his understanding of weight distribution. The best I've ever felt, the best I've ever seen, his understanding of what I needed to do and what positions I needed to be in to advance. He was steps ahead of me. Number 4. Justin Gaethji. Justin the Highlight Gaethji is one of the most respected fighters in the UFC. You cannot expect this man to have a boring fight. He always puts on a show for the crowd, and that's the reason why fans love to see him fight. At UFC 254, Khabib had one last obstacle to overcome, and that was in the shape of the most dangerous striker in the UFC today. If there were anyone fans thought could defeat Khabib, it was Justin. However, that night, if Khabib was put against the mighty King Kong, he might have mauled him as well. The death of his father, the man who has made him who he was, crushed him to the core. And despite the injuries he had sustained during the camp, he did not pull out of the fight. He was ready for everything that night. Talking about the fight on the Full Send podcast, Justin said that Khabib was his hardest fight. His why that night was absolutely huge. It was almost impossible to beat that night. It was the biggest challenge he had ever faced. After beating Justin, Khabib started crying in the middle of the octagon. He was consoled by Justin. It was a moment that transcended the wins and the losses. It was an incredible night to witness. When Charles Oliveira became the champion, people started to compare Khabib with Charles, to which Justin said, "Charles certainly is not more dangerous than Khabib. Charles' ability to damage is not the same." This comes from the fact that Khabib remained undefeated throughout his career, while Charles had quit a lot of the times before. And if we think back to the match at UFC 254, Khabib did not want to hurt Justin Gaethji, and mid-fight decided to change his submission move, as he knew Justin would not give up, and he might end up breaking his arm. Talking about greatness, this guy was having mercy on his opponent. Number 3. Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler soon made his way into the UFC after Khabib retired from the sports, and after knocking Dan Hooker in the first round, he was riled up and called everyone, including Khabib. Chandler has a lot of respect for him. To retire from the sport undefeated is not something everyone gets to enjoy. Talking about Khabib, he said, "A legacy is now cemented. He is absolutely the greatest lightweight of all time, for what he has accomplished and the manner in which he has accomplished it, barely ever looking as if there was a man alive who could knock him out or submit him. He looked just about as unstoppable and unbeatable as a man possibly could inside the UFC octagon." The respect that Chandler has for Khabib just shows how great of a fighter Khabib actually was. It was not so often that we get to watch a fighter in the same weight class call another fighter the greatest of all time. And that's the mark that Khabib left on the sport. His journey was not smooth sailing. At times, he had to deal with a lot of stuff, a lot of injuries. And he not only overcame them, but also showed the world how hard work, perseverance, and dedication can truly make you great. He is now giving back to those people who were with him during his thick and thin. He is making sure that his cousins and friends carry the legacy forward. Number 2. Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier and Khabib are very good friends, and one can say that he is biased when he talks about Khabib, but he has been with him since the beginning. He was with him in the AKA and was watching him grow day in and day out. He was with Khabib when he used to practice his entrance to Bruce Buffer's introduction. Daniel Cormier told a story about Khabib at the UFC weigh-in show, that at the time when he was not a big star, he used to tell them that there was going to come a time when he would be making tens of millions of dollars every fight. DC used to make fun of Khabib in the gym, and fast forward to 2021, He did end up making millions of dollars. In an interview with BT Sports, DC said he was like a little brother, the one who was going to take what we had done to the next level. He exceeded everything that we did. He has shattered it completely. Number 1. Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is among the exciting middleweight fighters in the UFC. Talking about Khabib, he said he would not want to be in the ring against him. He's just a freak, isn't he? Good gosh, he is so good. Whittaker told ESPN's Ariel Helwani, the last fight of Khabib removed all the doubts that anyone had about him. Even in the GOAT debate, Whittaker does not think that Jon Jones surpasses Khabib because he's had a flawless run and he's had no hiccups. He's had no obstacles. He's made every fight look easy. He considers Khabib special because there was no one in the ring against him that people thought was going to get the better of him. He just literally mauled everyone. A lot of fighters would not share the plans they have for their opponents, and there was Khabib who would tell them his plans and do exactly what he said, and there was not a goddamn thing they could do about it. That's something we don't see very often. That's the eagle from the mountains. That's greatness. So do you think Khabib is the greatest UFC fighter of all time? Comment below. If you're enjoying our content and want to see more, be sure to leave a like before subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any of our weekly upload. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time.